The rule is simple. When gold doubles, empires fall. And it just happened again. But this isn't just a historical pattern, it's a mathematical certainty. And while most people are going to focus on the chaos that follows, what they're missing is the real story. It's the single greatest transfer of wealth in human history that's now been triggered. Now, the fall of an empire creates more millionaires than its rise, but only for the few who understand the blueprint. And there's a specific mechanism within that blueprint, hidden in plain sight, that determines who gets wiped out and who builds generational wealth. Now, after building and selling companies for over 25 years and now investing in the next financial system as an officer of a publicly traded company, I can tell you this is the playbook we're using right now. And I'm going to share it all with you. So let's go. All right, now we have a lot to cover, so let's just go ahead and just jump right in. But before we get to the blueprint and the plan, we have to jump in the time machine. We got to go back in time so you can see how this is a repeating blueprint and how the mechanism and how the plan is almost always the same. Now let's look real quick. We're going to go back to Rome, Spain, France, Britain, and then we'll stop in the US. And we're starting where this whole pattern really starts, with Rome. Now, the backbone of Rome's money was the silver denarius. It was introduced around 211 BC. Now, at that time, it was about 95% pure silver, roughly 4.5 grams of actual silver, and it quickly became the trusted money across the empire. And for almost 300 years, Rome kept that coin relatively stable. But of course, governments can never resist the temptation to spend more than they take in. By the time of Emperor Nero, around 60 AD, the silver content that had already been cut down to about 90% under Trajan, it was now about 85%. Commodus dropped it closer to 70%, and by the Severan dynasty in the early 200s, the denarius was now only about 50% silver. And then came the crisis of the 3rd century. It was the real breaking point. By around 250 AD, the denarius now had less than 5% silver left. It was basically now a copper coin with a very thin silver wash around it. Now, of course, the people knew it, right? Soldiers started demanding to be paid in gold instead. Now, historians estimate that prices rose by over 1,000% in just a few decades. One gold heiress, which had been worth 25 denarii in the early empire, was now worth thousands of denarii by the late 200s, and eventually millions by the time Constantine tried to reform the system with a new gold coin, the solidus. And here's where the pattern comes in. As for the currency debased, the price of gold in terms of denarius, it skyrocketed. Gold doubled and then doubled again. And just like that, Rome's money was worthless and trade broke down. And it wasn't just inflation. It was the total collapse of trust. Cicero even complained that people no longer knew what their money was worth. Caracalla, one of the emperors during this period,